Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that they didn't do jack for me? I've left my home when I was only 18. I was pregnant at the time because of a stupid mistake I did, and I didn't tell anyone about it, not even my own parents. Well, to be fair, I don't even consider them parents at all. They have neglected me my entire life and have favored my sister over me, who didn't make it much better for me because she was a manipulative bully to me growing up. There is so much more they've done that I could make a list, but I really don't like getting into detail about it. Either way, I couldn't have been happier now. I've done a freaking fantastic job raising my daughter Grace, who is my ray of sunshine. She is honestly the only reason I've kept going on through the rough patch, and I love my baby girl so much. I'm doing quite well for myself as well. I'm not rolling in cash, but I'm doing well financially and I'm comfortable with my new lifestyle. Well, my parents recently contacted me. Apparently, their golden child is a mess and their life has just gone downhill. My mother burst into tears after she found out about Grace, and apologized profusely and begged to have a relationship with both her and me. My father said how hard it was for them when I've left, and said that they've done so much for me and how it wasn't fair that I didn't feel the slightest bit of remorse for them. I told them that they didn't do jack for me, and that my daughter does not associate herself with strangers and that neither will I. I then hung up, and they've been calling me and texting me, and basically trying to guilt trip me because I'm keeping their grandchild away from them. I feel as if they actually are sorry, but another part of me says that they are not and that I should stick to my guns and not interact with them. Am I the a-hole? Editor to add, here's an explanation of what they've done to me. I'm so sorry. I just don't like talking about it that much. But now I feel as if I'm obligated to do so. They haven't allowed me to have any friends whatsoever. They've controlled every little aspect of my life, including the way I dressed, spoke, my views on certain things, etc. And just practically made me feel like a total outcast. They'd spank me if I'd get a grade lesser than an A, lock me in my room and take away everything from me. The only time when I was allowed to go out is when I needed to go to the bathroom or to eat. And so much more. I really don't feel comfortable sharing anything else if that's alright. And yes, they did ignore me and didn't bother to contact me at all. And whenever I did try to discuss about how I felt, they'd just brush it under the rug and think that I was overreacting. I'm positive they are only in it for money because they have stated that they were pretty much broke, and even if they did want a relationship, I wouldn't go for it at all. My daughter doesn't hate them, but she doesn't love them either, and she has said to me that she would prefer it if she doesn't meet them or share any type of bond with them at all. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You have full autonomy to decide with whom you and your child have relationships. You do not owe them anything. OP owes the parents nothing, but owes her child protection from potentially messed up strangers. You don't know how these people will treat the kid, especially if the golden child decides to spawn. This is a great point. A parent's first priority needs to be their child. Their second priority needs to be themselves, both for their own sake and so they're as prepared as possible to fulfill the first. An adult can and should choose to take on other responsibilities and obligations. Pets, volunteer/charity work, relationships, family, friends, partners/dating, etc. But if any of those interfere with your first and second priorities, they got to go. Not the a-hole. Being a grandparent is a privilege and not a given right, and if your parents are being disrespectful towards you, then they've only got themselves to blame for no relationship with your child. Continue doing what's best for you and your little girl. Depending on where OP is, it actually is a right. Grandparents can take a parent to court to establish grandparent visitation because they do have rights to a grandchild. Not the a-hole. They only remembered you when your sibling was no longer satisfactory. You don't need them in your life and your daughter certainly doesn't. Block them. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my teenage daughter to stay with her aunt because my older daughter didn't want her in the house? My wife and I have two daughters, Laura, 20, and Lily, 15. Laura was studying away but came home for the weekend. Lily has just had her first boyfriend break up and it's hit her hard. She's been crying in her room the past few days. Unfortunately, Laura has a bit of a wind-up personality and was tormenting her little sister about the breakup, which only upset Lily more. She was saying things like if the boyfriend left her for a prettier girl, and saying she didn't blame him, etc. Horrible things. We did tell Laura repeatedly to cut it out but she didn't listen, to the point that Lily went to bed in tears. Laura has eye problems. She has been very visually impaired since she was a baby. Her current glasses prescription is -28 and she can't wear contacts. We woke up this morning to screaming from Laura's room. Laura had woken up and put her glasses on, but the lenses had been popped out. Lily admitted to doing it and said she threw the lenses out the window. We did try to search for them outside but they couldn't be found. Laura was crying her eyes out and couldn't see anything at all. She does have a spare pair of glasses but as she only came for a couple of days, she didn't bring them with her. To be fair, Lily regretted what she did as soon as she saw how upset Laura was, But Laura didn't want Lily near her and begged us to keep her away. My wife's sister lives nearby, and I asked Lily to go and spend the day there, because Laura was blinded, and looking after her had to be our main concern. I then got a call from my sister-in-law, saying how dare you throw her out for that spoiled bully. It's not about spoiling anyone. Laura was blinded and terrified, and was too scared to be in the same house as Lily. It was right to ask her to leave until we could get Laura back to her place where her spare glasses were. I do get that it was harsh to just tell Lily to leave, but what else could we have done when our other child was unable to see and crying in fear? You're the a-hole. The oldest was, in your own words, tormenting her little sister. You should have made her leave. I can't blame the youngest for wanting revenge, to be honest. Your oldest sounds horrible. Yeah, she's an adult. She had no business being there if she's going to torment a child. I missed this part at first. 20 years old? That's not a wind-up personality, that's an a-hole, like her dad. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. What the hell? You're the a-hole for letting a 20-year-old bully a child like that. And he's also the a-hole for throwing out his minor child, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Added to add, my mistake, he only threw her out for the day, but he's still an a-hole though. Laura may manipulate him into keeping her there until she leaves at the same time, but for now he hasn't. My mistake. You're the a-hole. So it's okay to let Lily suffer, but it's not okay when Lily reaches her breaking point after you doing nothing to discipline Laura? I know, yes, what Lily did was wrong, but it's on you for not setting boundaries. Sister-in-law, saying how dare you throw her out for that spoiled bully. This comment also makes me think that maybe this wasn't an isolated event, but the older sister has been tormenting the younger one for years and the parents did nothing. What Lily did was a touch extreme, but probably driven to it by years of emotional and mental abuse from a bully sister and enabling parents. Hopefully this will wake up the parents to realizing where they have failed the younger sister. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my, possibly, dying sister that I'm not obligated to mend our relationship? Long story short, my older sister has always been mentally abusive and manipulative. I never realized this until I moved out and started a family of my own. Over the past few years, she's insulted me, my wife, my job, accused us of keeping our child from the rest of the family, accused me of manipulating her kids into thinking she was a bad mom, etc. She'll talk crap behind everyone else's back, but will act like nothing's wrong and that she's the perfect person to your face. I finally got tired of it and cut her out of our family, because we couldn't handle the stress of trying to manage the relationship between us, her, and the rest of my family. My mom has always taken her side because she twists everything we say into making her the victim. Last week, I was told by my mom that a large mass was found in my sister's midsection, and that she was showing clear signs of ovarian cancer. My mom asked me to reach out to her, so I did. In my message to her, I told her that I forgave her, still loved her, that she's still family, that I hope her situation turns out for the best, and that under no circumstances would I ever wish harm on her. I also told her that I'm not obligated to mend our relationship, but I was open to it as long as her actions could match her words, and that it would take a long time for me to even attempt to trust her, even if she did end up changing her ways. Instead of responding back, evidently, she chopped up that message and sent it out of context back to my mom, who then berated me for talking that way to her when she could be dying. I feel like I'm in a lose-lose-lose situation. If I kiss her butt, I've completely lost my morals and strong stance for my family. If I don't respond at all, I don't care. If I responded the way I did, I'm an insensitive a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I sent my mom the full message after being berated, only for her to respond that the message didn't sound forgiving or caring, which is what your sister needs right now. My sister also reached out about 2 weeks ago, assuming around when she was first notified about the issue by the doctor. Her message followed a pretty typical pattern that she does of responding about 2 months of her being horrible to someone, then acting as if she hasn't said anything wrong, and that she hasn't done anything warranting an apology. Now for the top comments. Send the real text to your mom and stop reaching out to your sister. Should have added this to the main post. This is my response to 2 others that have already said this. Yeah, that was my first action after she messaged me. I'm still in the wrong because your message wasn't filled with forgiveness and caring, which your sister needs right now. Sweet, thanks mom lol. Then just take yourself out of the drama. You don't have to be the one to reach out and mend things. Make it clear to your mother that a sickness isn't a magical wand that makes it all better again. Whether you want to be there for her if God forbid it is bad news, is up to you and doesn't mean you have to necessarily forgive. Very well put. Unfortunately, my sister has a tendency to bring drama to people, even when they attempt to stay out of it. Guaranteed, my entire family, outside of my wife and child, would be bearing down on me if I did nothing, although I agree removing myself would be the best choice if that wasn't the case. Not the a-hole. But your mother is as much of a problem as your sister. Why on earth is your mother allowing this? I have adult children. I would never tolerate them running to me as though they were little kids in a fight calling for their mommy. The only reason your sister even does this is because your mother supports her. I'm sorry. You feel like you're in a lose-lose situation because you are. Your sister needs to put you down to your mother to feel better about herself, in a twisted and pathological way, and your mother agrees to this. There's nothing you can do here. So I'd recommend doing whatever you think is right and whatever you feel you won't regret 10 years from now. But mainly, you need to tell your mother not to talk to you at all about your sister, unless it's critical news, like health stuff. This is if you want. You can also not have her talk about her at all to you. Right now, your mother is crossing all kinds of boundaries and encouraging ridiculous behavior in her adult children. The last part is actually what I've asked to be done before. We had a huge ordeal where my sister was going behind my back, talking all sorts of nonsense that wasn't true about my wife, and we were all playing a huge stupid game of telephone. That's when I laid down the line that if anyone has a problem with anyone else, they go directly to that person and no one else. You can see how well that worked. Otherwise, you 100% summarized it perfectly. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking a promise my parents made me do when I was 18? A bit of background information. My 25 female parents immigrated to France before I was born to be able to offer a better life for their children. I am the oldest of 5 and had a strict childhood growing up, looked after my siblings, always had good grades, behaved and listened mostly, etc. My main motivation was knowing that I can live my life how I wanted once I became an adult. Fast forward to me turning 18, and choosing which university I should go to. My parents told me that I should pick a town in France that was a maximum of 3 hours drive away. I secretly applied to British universities because I want to study English, and got accepted. My parents said, "Fine, you can go since you got accepted, but you have to promise to come back home after your studies." Being 18 years old, I just did what they told me to, so I could go without thinking too much about the consequences. Fast forward to now, after completing a degree in English and education which took 5 years, I found a job as a teacher in the UK and stayed. This is now my 2nd year of teaching. I have a boyfriend of 5 years, pay for my own apartment, and have not relied on my parents, financially, for years now. My mum demands that I come back home, start living in their house and find a job in France. She wants me to throw my life in the UK away, because of a promise I made when I was 18, but I just want to live my life how I want instead. They make me feel guilty for not keeping that promise and even set an ultimatum: it has to happen now or never. My mum thinks that I will never come back if I do not come back home this summer. Now this pressure/guilt I feel has strained our relationship. By the way, my parents are healthy and well and do not need me in France. Of course, I would be with them if they needed support. The way I see it, they are upset that their oldest child left the nest and has no intention of coming back anytime soon. Am I the a-hole for not keeping the promise I made when I was 18? Think your parents need to let you live your life. You are clearly a responsible adult making good decisions in life. You'd only grow to hate them for making you give up the life you've got. Your last point is very true. Just out of interest, what was the ultimatum, now or what happens? Not the a-hole and your parents were foolish to make you make that promise, and even more foolish to expect you to keep it. My mum thinks I will come back now, meaning this summer, or never, always live in the UK, which will sever our relationship. In reality, I did not plan on doing either. I want to stay in the UK for at least another year and then move to a different country hopefully. My mum wants me to think that our relationship would only work if I moved back this summer at least for a year. After that, she says it would be too late to still be on good terms because I left them for so long. That's the ultimatum. Not the a-hole. A promise that is made under coercion and pressure is not a promise. Your parents put an unreasonable condition on you when you wanted to go to university, and you didn't really have much of a choice other than to say yes. Sounds like your parents come from a culture where they expect to have a lot of say in their adult children's lives, so I am sure it is hard for them to understand your decision-making, but it's the hard truth that, while they may have been able to give you more stability and opportunities by coming to France, that also alter the social and economic terrain in which their children would structure their own lives. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.